edition of the Young Turks on this lovely Friday. And guess what? We have a power panel. That's right, we drop it like it's rocks.
Look at this.
Hey guys.
This is an unusual combination, though.
It is very unusual.
I like it, though.
Jimmy Dore, Steve-O. We're having a power panel. You guys are the aggressive progressive.
Yes. Oh wait, I'm Jimmy Dore. I thought I was the Mankiewicz. I look alike. Anyway.
So we have a great show ahead for you guys. Later on, we're going to talk about how Republicans are considering doing away with the one deduction that helps the middle class. And then later on, we will talk about Governor Jim Justice of West Virginia switching over from Democrat to Republican. Lots of great news today. Lots of interesting stuff going on. Yeah.
So what's the top story today? Or the first story, at least?
Well, we can start with the first story.
All right.
Let's dive right into it. All right. Donald Trump's administration has been plagued with a number of leaks, some coming from White House officials, others coming from members of Congress, and the media continues to report on these leaks to the detriment of Trump and members of his administration. Now, as a result, Jeff Sessions has decided to take matters into his own hands, and the DOJ is warning the media that it could be subpoenaed if it either airs or writes about information that has been disclosed through these leaks. Now, Sessions announced a government-wide crackdown on leakers, which will include a review of the Justice Department's policies on subpoenas for media outlets that publish sensitive information. Now, I have more information for you, but first, let's hear from Jeff Sessions himself, who gave a press conference in regard to this matter.
One of the things we are doing is reviewing policies affecting media subpoenas. We respect the important role that the press plays and will give them respect, but it is not unlimited. They cannot place lives at risk with impunity. We must balance the press's role with protecting our national security and the lives of those who serve in the intelligence community, the armed forces, and all law-abiding Americans.
All right, so just to give you a little more detail into what the Justice Department is planning to do, let's go to graphic 3. The Justice Department, FBI, and government intelligence agencies will direct more resources into these investigations of government leaks and would prioritize prosecuting those that pass sensitive information along to the press or foreign officials. Sessions said his Justice Department has already tripled the number of active leak investigations over the previous administration, and that the FBI would create new counterintelligence unit to manage the cases. So they're getting serious about these leaks, and Sessions mentioned that he respects freedom of the press and that it's going to be a delicate balance, but I'm skeptical as in terms of whether or not they're really going to strike the right balance.
So there are a number of problems here.
Right.
Number one, this is a direct attack on the press. So if there are leaks and the leakers are engaging in some sort of bad behavior and you want to go after the leakers, that's a different issue, and I'm largely okay with that, and they sort that out. But when you go after the press and you subpoena the press and you make the press disclose their sources and all that, that's a direct attack. It has a massive chilling effect on the press and the media. So if the press is receiving information from multiple sources, and the press hopefully is responsible and they don't publish information. For example, they wouldn't say our military is hiding in this location and they're going to attack the terrorists tomorrow at 6 p.m., right? Like, obviously the press shouldn't do that. But the press, it's their right to adjudicate what is, worthy of being printed or shown on air, whatever it may be. So for the Justice Department to go after the press is an attack. I mean, that's an attack on the First Amendment.
Right. I mean, yes. And of course, from the right, we're seeing this argument that those on the left are attacking First Amendment rights and free speech. Well, included in free speech is a free press. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember any publication writing about any leak that puts anyone's life in jeopardy. And that kind of fear-mongering is what I'm hearing from Jeff Sessions.
And if you care one tiny bit about freedom of speech and the First Amendment. This is where it starts.
Mm-hmm.
So if some private institution or some private university says you can't say certain words here, or we don't want to let certain people speak here, yes, that's an infringement on the First Amendment. But that is secondary, tertiary compared to the government.
That's right.
Prohibiting the press from disclosing certain things that the government is doing. The press, the whole point of the press is to have a functional democracy and to be watchdogs against power and corruption. So if the government, the powerful, now has the power to destroy that institution, well, then you don't have a functioning democracy. So if you care one bit about it, you care a lot more about Jeff Sessions going after the press than about, some liberal snowflakes somewhere who are allowed to have a safe space. Like, that's the last of your concerns.
So, I'm trying to figure out, didn't he say he's just going to enforce the full letter of the law, or did he say they're going to do extra things? Because it just sounded like you're right. If you go after the leaker, that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But did they threaten I know he did kind of semi-threaten the press, right? I know he said that thing and he didn't take any questions and he left the room. But, is there anything like that explicitly threatens the press?
They're going to revisit the potential of subpoenaing journalists. And so, look, you subpoena a journalist for one of these investigations, what's going to happen? They're going to be pressured to identify who their sources are. And journalists don't do that. Yeah. Journalists are not supposed to disclose their sources. And there have been journalists in the past who have, faced prosecutorial proceedings as a result of that. Some of them have even been thrown in jail in the past because they refuse to note who their sources are. So I don't know if they're planning on really going after journalists in that way, but I think that would have a chilling effect on freedom of the press. And look, so far, again, maybe I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, send me a tweet, let me know. The information that has been reported by these journalists has not put anyone's life in danger. They've been incredibly embarrassing to the president. I mean, the fact that, the latest leak indicates that the president had a call with the leader of Mexico and said, yeah, let's just keep it real. This wall is not like the most important thing. Yeah, it's embarrassing because you lied to your base. You lied to the people who voted for you. And so something that's embarrassing is not the same as something that puts anyone's life in jeopardy or threatens national security.
That's what they always say, that it threatens someone's life. They said it with Chelsea Manning, right? Even just the other day, someone from the Obama administration tweeted out that lives were at risk. I'm like, that's just a smear for Chelsea Manning, right? They keep saying that. This crackdown on the press, I think, is kind of bipartisan, because a lot of people were upset about the Obama administration using the Espionage Act to prosecute six journalists, which was a record. And so Trump is now even getting, because they can't stop the leaks from their own White House, they're going to threaten the press. It is weird, though. How do you guys feel about this? That it said that the full transcripts of his phone calls with foreign leaders were leaked to the Washington Post. I missed that story. I don't know how I missed that story, but I did.
That's what Anna was just talking about.
The wall with the Mexican leader?
Yeah, yes. I actually have a problem with that.
Yeah,
because we can't have foreign leaders thinking that they can't speak openly with our president because that gets leaked. So I have a problem with that. So if you want to go after those leakers, that's fine.
Yes.
But I have a bigger problem with Jeff Sessions basically taking the power of the executive branch, co-opting the judiciary, because subpoena power is a power of the court. So you have to comply with it, otherwise now you're in contempt of court and you could go to jail. Mm-hmm. So co-opting the courts to compel journalists to comply with the dictates of the executive branch. So that's where it gets really problematic. And they always cite, this is quite the tricky sleight of hand that they always do. Mm-hmm. So you talk about national security. Mm-hmm. It's national security. This is really important. Lives are at stake. But then they're going to go after sensitive information. Well, what does that mean, sensitive?
Right.
It makes someone look bad, or is this some sort of life-threatening issue that really impacts national security? So they say, we do it for national security, but we're going to go after you for sensitive information. So it's very, very tricky. And like I said, if you care one bit about the First Amendment, you should be super vigilant about any encroachment to the rights of journalists. But Jimmy's correct. This is a bipartisan effort.
It is.
It looks uglier with Trump because he does everything over the top. But Obama did a similar thing. I mean, over the last, since the Bush, or the second Bush years, maybe even before, there has been a consolidation of power by the executive branch. They are becoming stronger and stronger, and this part of the Bush doctrine and Cheney and all of his lawyers over there. They have empowered the executive to crazy levels where it's never intended to be this way. And
yeah, I mean, it throws off what we're supposed to have with, a balance of power in our country. And yeah, you're right. It's skewed now. But I think that, the most important thing is, look, there's a certain culture in this White House. And I love Scaramucci's quote of, "The fish rots from the head down." You're right, the fish does rot from the head down. We are seeing more leaks in this administration than ever before, and there's a reason for that. There's a certain type of culture that's being perpetuated by our president. And so, yes, go after the leakers, do an investigation, that's fine, but more importantly, try to understand why it is there are so many more leaks happening within your administration.
It's just flat out poor leadership. He surrounds himself with yes men who are sycophants, and those folks have nothing to offer except flattery. So they're all insecure, and they're backstabbing each other like crazy. And you saw it firsthand with Scaramucci, Bannon, Reince Priebus, Spicer, Huckabee Sanders. I mean, it's chaos over there. The other problem with what they're doing is this. I mean, the first graphic that talks about how they're tripling the number of investigations. They're starting a whole new unit. I mean, these are resources.
Absolutely.
I thought we cared about terrorism. I thought we cared about, sex trafficking. I thought we cared about all these other issues, white collar crime. Well, all of that is now on the back burner because above and beyond anything else, this administration cares about its own self-image and perpetuating its own power. So they're going to spend all their resources going after leakers instead of these other matters that are, ostensibly a lot more, or actually not ostensibly, a bigger threat to national security and the well-being of the American people.
Absolutely. All right, moving on to some other news. Federal prosecutors in New York have subpoenaed the company of Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner, of course, a senior advisor to Donald Trump and also his son-in-law. Now, this has to do with Kushner properties going to foreign countries and essentially advocating for investment in U.S. properties that they're trying to develop in return for what's known as EB-5 visas. These are visas for wealthy investors who put money into U.S.-based projects and then get this so-called golden visa, this ability to get a visa just because they're rich and they're investing in U.S. properties or U.S. projects. Now, the program issues green cards to immigrants who invest $500,000 in U.S.-based developments, 85% of which are Chinese. Now, remember, it was a big story when Kushner Properties went to China, had this big meeting with wealthy Chinese investors, and essentially let these investors know, hey, guess what? President's son-in-law, he's connected to us, and if you invest, you can get this visa. They're not supposed to do that. That's against the law. Trump also reauthorized the EB-5 program the day before Jared's sister, Nicole Kushner, pitched the visas to potential foreign investors. EB-5 applicants also do not have a way of proving their level of skill beyond the ability to finance projects for U.S. developers. The only reason why I bring that up is because this news comes right after Donald Trump claims that he wants to lessen legal immigration into the country because he only wants to allow skilled workers and skilled immigrants into the country. Who speak English, by the way. So I love that the federal prosecutors are going after, Kushner Properties, because there are so many negative ramifications of doing what they did. Not only are they breaking the law by mentioning Jared Kushner and essentially selling them these golden visas, but it's artificially inflating the housing market here in the United States. By the way, that type of foreign investment is artificially inflating the housing market in lots of other countries as well. And so it infuriates me that they keep getting away with it, and to know that prosecutors are finally doing something about it is good news.
Yeah, and for those of you out there who support Donald Trump because you think he's strong on immigration issues, that he cracks down on illegal immigrants and on legal immigrants, it's all a hoax. You've been totally suckered by him because he has no problems hiring foreign workers to work in his companies. And the reason why he's trying to make it harder for legal immigrants to come in is because then this is the only way of getting in, through the EB-5 visa. And where would that money go? It gets funneled right to his family members. And his whole scheme is so simple. All he wants to do is self-deal. Make deals with other countries, sell out our country, and enrich himself and his family. That's what this is all about. So whether it's the Russians, the Chinese, the Argentinians, it doesn't matter. He'll cut a deal with anyone. To make himself richer.
So what Nicole Kushner did, correct me, what she did was she went to these rich Chinese investors and said, invest in a project that we have going in the United States, and then we'll give you visas.
Yes.
That's exactly right. And again, the timing is just incredible, right? Because
did they
Trump reauthorizes this program, and then a day later, Nicole Kushner has this big meeting with these investors in China. And so, it's all about selling visas to the highest bidder.
Right, and think about that. So it's not a coincidence that those dates line up like that. So Nicole Kushner probably had that meeting set up with the Chinese, and through back channels or directly to Trump or his people, said, hey, you gotta, reauthorize this right away, because otherwise when I pitch them tomorrow, they're not gonna invest. So please do it right away. So come on, guys. This is like just rampant and obvious over the top self-dealing.
And by the way, I just want to talk about this and immigration and all of that for a little while longer, because I think a lot of people are misled about what goes on with immigration, or how, foreigners have a negative impact on our lives, right? Look, I know that we get painted as bleeding heart liberals or whatever, but I'm a reasonable person. And so, look, if immigration is hurting Americans and their job prospects, then I do want to balance it, right? So I'm not saying let's open our borders and let everyone in. I think that it's a very delicate balancing act, and unfortunately we don't have people who are having sincere discussions about this. We have a lot of demagogues, we have a lot of negative, fringe individuals who get all the attention and they basically monopolize the conversation. But I think it makes sense to have a real analysis of the impact of immigration and make smart policy decisions based on that. But if you really want to focus on how foreigners are harming Americans economically, this type of investment is harming us economically, right? Where we're literally selling visas to wealthy people abroad who either want the visas or, to be quite honest with you, are looking to launder their money. We have people laundering their money from Russia, and they do so by buying properties here in the United States. Same with China, okay? That's a big problem, and I want to do something to stop it right away. And also, here's another thing. Trump talks a big talk about employing Americans. Okay, so if you want to employ Americans, why are you raising the cap for foreign workers to come here into the United States and take American jobs, particularly jobs that you need for your properties, right? Trump Properties is looking to hire more foreign workers. That's weird. Doesn't that seem like it's a little inconsistent with what Trump was campaigning on? I mean, he doesn't care about you guys. And I'm not just saying that because I don't like him. I'm saying that because I know for a fact he does not practice what he preaches. Why is he bringing in foreign workers if he claims that he wants Americans to work those jobs? He's just full of it, man.
Yeah, and to paint a very clear picture as to why these foreign investments hurt the U.S. economy in many ways, is that, so for example, here in Los Angeles, there's a neighborhood called Manhattan Beach. It's beautiful there, okay? It's this beautiful beach community, and there's a finite number of houses right along the ocean. So when I first moved to the U.S., to L.A. back in '92, those homes are just a couple $100,000, and I know prices go up. But now, just those lots, the lots are selling for $10 million each. And then it's another $5 million or so to put up a house there, because there's only maybe 100 of those homes, and that's being impacted by super rich Chinese and super rich Russians. And many of those homes remain empty.
They remain empty. Yeah. And you know what they do?
And they drive up the prices for everyone in the neighborhood, so Americans are now priced out of those homes.
That's right. So if you are earning, upper middle class income, it's almost impossible for you to own homes in certain areas of this country, and it's because of those foreign investors. And another thing I wanted to note, there are laws and regulations that state if you buy a home, you need to live there for X amount of years. You can't just buy it and use it as an investment when it just stays empty. And so now there are companies popping up that literally try to make it seem like there's someone living there when there's no one living there at all. They'll put shoes at the front door. It's absurd. It's absurd. So that's what's really going on. And again, I thank these federal prosecutors in New York for going after Kushner Properties for doing this. But more importantly, I want them to broaden their scope and not hyper focus on just what Kushner Properties are doing, because the reality is there are a lot of other developers out there that are doing something similar. Anyway, we got to take our first break. Let's do that, and make sure to tweet to us using the hashtag TYT Live. We will respond to them when we come back.
TYT is unique in a lot of ways.
I'm going to ask some uncomfortable questions. I feel like I missed out.
So what is going on? If I don't eat, my head's going to explode.
As I take my shirt off, just goes, is that your body?
Now we move to inappropriate story number 2.
I just never felt guilty about masturbation.
It's amazing.
I could take partial credit for opening up your sexuality.
I was the kid in the pool with the shirt on. Let's just call it what it is. I was that kid.
Well, you deal with the bitch side of it, right? But you're my boss, so that's what happens.
I think we're more likely to go. They do see it from a frame of the rich and the powerful, and they don't realize it. The last time that happened, we elected Abraham Lincoln. I don't know, wouldn't it be wonderful if we unfucked the world?
You and I are disaster.
Don't stereotype all cops, don't stereotype all any blowing up like Dave Kohler on Twitter. That's pretty good progress. I didn't know you could leave positive comments. It's a very TYT thing. So you have a whole bunch of depressing stuff. So that at the end I can give you hope. Winning is, in terms of change and positive change, is not just possible, it's inevitable.
Great time to be alive.
Let's burn this mother down. That's what you're saying? Fuck it, let's go do it. And that's why I thank you guys for being members. Because together, we got their attention.
Thanks for tuning in, and as always,
Stay strong.
Robbie Canal, he calls his work urban beautification.
I didn't go out to be a street artist or to make posters. I was just compelled to do it. I was mad enough it didn't matter. It was like a form of minor civil disobedience even. Like, fuck, how about your higher ground? Power operates to self-replicate itself to maintain the status quo so it stays in power. When you go to do something like this to express yourself in public about an issue you care about, make sure you pick the bigger weapon, and the weapon is knowledge. The one thing about street art, it's not like I put up my posters to change anybody's mind about anything. The difference between propaganda and the kind of art I do is propaganda is telling people what to think. The way the art works, where the art works, is between the time you see it and the time you figure it out for yourself. I'm an optimist. I might have made a lot of ugly things and a lot of ugly people, but it's out of love, not for them.
Welcome back to Hour 1. Jimmy and Steve with you, and Anna. All right, so Gabby Marita tweets in and says, "Do my eyes deceive me? I thought the triumphant return of Steve-O to the power panel is tonight, the triumphant return."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gabby. Appreciate it.
Yeah. She also says it's always good when Steve's on. Brandon Atkins says the elfin chief is trying to prove his value to Donald. He does look like the Keebler elf.
But like an evil
Who looks
Keebler
like
elf.
the Keebler elf?
Jeff Sessions.
He does look like
Right?
Yeah.
All right. He also says they want to prevent information from getting to the people. Well, yeah, absolutely. Especially when that information is super embarrassing and reveals what Trump really thinks about the issues he peddled to his base. And then also Super Chat. We love the Super Chat messages. And Story of Amino says, "Much love for TYT and their information. Love Casper."
Who doesn't love Casper? Come on.
A lot of people.
They're crazy. They're all a bunch of bots. I don't believe them.
Get out of here. No, people don't like me. It's all right. And then finally, I'm going to plug membership, okay? Because members help keep this show alive. You guys help keep us independent, and we love you. All right, so James Stout and Giselle Grinnett, I think that's how you say your name. The only reason why I went, Giselle, is because we email back and forth time to time. She's awesome. Also, you guys should check out membership by going to tytnetwork.com/join. The post game today will feature Malcolm. He has returned with weekly world news and more. It also features Hannah Cranston and Steve-O.
We did it yesterday, but it's for today.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's,
can I just say one more thing about membership? So, I work behind the scenes here at TYT, and I do a lot of business meetings. And whenever I go, they ask me about our revenue model and how we survive. And I talk about YouTube, Facebook, and all the different places where we make money. But whenever I get to our members, that's when everyone is so impressed.
Yeah.
They can't believe it.
Yeah.
And when I tell them about the way the members help fund the build out of our studios, the way they help fund our journalism campaign to hire all these new people, every single person I ever talked to, from the CEO of major companies to like their business development people, they are just a tad bit jealous.
Yeah.
And just so impressed.
Yeah.
And it gives me more bargaining power and more leverage because I don't have to always take their deal, because I can always say no because we have members backing us up. So
right.
I want to say a personal thank you to the members who support us.
You guys are awesome. Yeah. All right, let's move on to more news. That is amazing. It sucks because I really like Keebler cookies, and now it's kind of been tainted.
Well, he's the evil elf that was kicked out of the Keebler clan.
Yeah, he doesn't get to live in the tree.
Yeah.
Aww.
He started his own clan.
Oh man, that was good, guys. All right, moving on. Many are wondering how Donald Trump plans on balancing the budget when he would like tax cuts for the wealthy. Well, unsurprisingly, the Trump administration is eyeing the one and only deduction that the middle class gets to take advantage of: mortgage deductions. Awesome. Now, nothing set in stone. This is just something that has been proposed, but apparently there was a White House roundtable where they were discussing balancing the budget and taxes, and unfortunately it seems like one of the things that was suggested was doing away, not necessarily doing away, but further capping the mortgage deduction that middle-class individuals get to take advantage of. So despite promises from the Trump administration in April that it would, quote, protect the homeownership deductions, multiple sources tracking tax reform said that the cap on the mortgage interest deduction, currently set at the interest on up to $1 million of mortgage debt, could be lowered in tax reform. Okay, so let me break a few things down before we continue. So if you are a single tax filer, if you are a married tax filer, in most cases, the cap is already at $500,000. And so when they say the cap is at $500,000, it means that it's the value of the mortgage that you took out, the value of the loan, your outstanding debt for your mortgage. And so when you pay your mortgage, obviously you also pay interest on that loan, and that interest is tax deductible. So they essentially want to lower the cap, so it would be even more difficult for you to get more money in the form of a tax refund when you use that deduction on your taxes.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So let's say I have my house and the loan on the house is $600,000.
Right.
Now under this new rule, I wouldn't be able to deduct it?
No. So if
the first 500,000.
the first 500,000.
Oh.
So okay, and then if in some cases, if you have two mortgages, they will allow you to deduct up to $1 million, and so they want to lower it for that, and potentially lower it for individuals who have one mortgage as well. Again, this is an idea that they've mentioned, but the reason why I want to report on it is because this is the one and only deduction that the middle class gets to take advantage of. They never have conversations about corporate tax loopholes, which is where the real problem is. So we'll get to that in just a second. So Trump overwhelmingly actually won a straw poll by the National Association of Realtors during its annual meeting last year, and it's because he had promised that he's not going to touch this deduction. By the way, it also impacts developers who want to build more properties, right? And so these realtors are like, just don't mess with that, because it's going to hurt an already questionable housing market. So after tabling a 20% business tax on imported goods and services, known as border adjustability, Republicans need ways to pay for tax cuts so they can minimize the amount those cuts could add to the deficit. The Tax Foundation, a tax policy think tank, estimates that after factoring in negative economic consequences, $308 billion could be saved over the 10-year budget window Republicans are working with by lowering the mortgage deduction. But here's the thing, instead of focusing on the mortgage deduction and doing away with that one deduction that, again, the middle class gets to take advantage of, why don't we focus on corporate tax loopholes? Now, Republicans will say over and over again, oh, our corporate taxes are so high, it's like 35%, it's crippling businesses in America. First of all, a lot of those deductions and loopholes don't apply to small businesses. They apply to massive corporations that don't need those loopholes to begin with. And if you think, Anna, you're just a liberal, you don't know what you're talking about, you're nonsense, corporate taxes are super high. Here are companies that paid no federal income tax from 2008 to 2015. These are some of the top earning Fortune 500 companies that get huge tax breaks. Pepco Holdings, PG&E Corporation, Wisconsin Energy, NiSource, International Paper, First Energy, Priceline.com, Amos Energy, General Electric. Yep,
They're all
American
energy companies. Look at them.
They paid nothing in federal income taxes from 2008 to 2015, and the Trump administration would like to further cut their taxes. So guess what? How about you don't touch our mortgage deductions and actually focus on having the wealthiest corporations in the country pay their fair share of taxes? How about that?
So I have a different take on this.
All right.
Okay, so my take is this. They are correct to lower the threshold for the mortgage deduction. And here's why. Most Americans can't afford to have massive homes that have a $500,000 mortgage or $1 million mortgage or that. So if they lower the threshold to $500,000, I'm okay with it. That covers most Americans anyway. Plus, they want to double the standard deductions they can take. So that really helps the vast majority of lower income, middle income Americans. Now, what I don't want them to do is to do this to pay for other tax cuts.
That's right. Yeah.
They should do this and take away the deductions for wealthy homeowners. So people who are buying, multi-million-dollar homes, they don't need this deduction. They shouldn't get it.
Agreed.
But we should also leave the other tax cuts alone. I'm sorry. don't do the other tax cuts.
Right.
So we would have a bigger surplus and spend that money on other things that matter a lot more. So the way they're doing away with this deduction to fund other deductions is wrong. They should have both deductions go away.
Yes. So let me jump in. Look, I hate slippery slope arguments.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that I'm about to make a slippery slope argument, but I think that it's important to be protective of the types of deductions that middle class individuals get to take advantage of. I don't even want them to touch it. Even though I completely understand that the vast majority of Americans do not have mortgages over $500,000, I don't care. I don't want them to touch this, mainly because this is not the issue that's leading to the massive deficit that we have in the country. The fact that our corporations, the top earning corporations in the country, get away with not paying any federal income taxes, that's the problem. The fact that we subsidize a lot of these companies that don't pay any federal income taxes is part of the problem. I think that that's where the focus needs to be, as opposed to individuals who are out there working hard trying to, earn enough money to buy a home.
Well, look, it's indisputable that the biggest problem we have is the corporate tax loophole, where all those corporations pay zero taxes. I totally agree on that. And then on the issue of this particular tax deduction, many people have said, and these are people on the left, that it is unfair because it allows rich people to buy up more property, consolidate more wealth, because realistically in America, the fastest way of building wealth is home ownership.
Yeah.
And if you have the ability to take out $1 million mortgage and pay for it, well, that home that's worth $1 million today may not be worth $5 million tomorrow. But if you're not as rich, you take out a $100,000 mortgage, well, your home will be worth $200,000 tomorrow. So now the gap went from it was a much bigger gap in wealth.
Yeah.
So for those reasons, I'm not opposed to it necessarily, but I'm opposed to if that is the way to fund even worse tax policy for the richest Americans.
I know Trump is no fan of Jeff Bezos. So why wouldn't, right now they're subsidizing Amazon to by giving tax breaks for them to come in, undercut, because they don't pay sales tax in lots of places, right? And so what they do is they're subsidizing this company to come in to undercut their brick and mortar stores. So when they lose a brick and mortar store, they lose that tax revenue. And they're subsidizing another company to decimate their tax base. I mean, that is, to me, if you want to cut a loophole, that would be the one I would cut, right? I would try to make sure that Amazon had to pay its real taxes so it wouldn't be able to unfairly compete against brick and mortar stores and undermine people's real estate tax base. So, I'm saying if you want to look at where you want to cut,
how about Walmart?
Yeah.
They are the ones who started the whole trick of giving everyone 35 hours a week so they don't get benefits. And when you apply for a job at Walmart, many times they hand you paperwork so you can get on welfare.
Yeah.
So we are literally
subsidizing
Walmart as an institution. Meanwhile, they have record profits and their executives earn a tremendous amount of money, and the 6 Walmart heirs own as much as the bottom 40% of Americans. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, we have a crazy system in place.
So, yeah, we do, and unfortunately, we focus on attacking the powerless, while the powerful literally get away with, not paying their fair share. I was going to use different language, but I stopped myself.
They own our politicians. So
yeah, exactly. That's what it all comes down to. All right, moving on to...
So you want to get money out of politics? What are you, alt-left?
Yes, if that makes me alt-left, then
is that a new term? That's a new term, alt-left, because anybody who likes Bernie's alty. That's what they say.
That's crazy. Anyway, all right, let's move on to the Senate and something interesting that they recently did. Lawmakers in the Senate have essentially done something to prevent Donald Trump from making appointments during their recess. This is incredible. So these lawmakers agreed to a series of pro forma sessions that ensures the Senate never officially goes on recess. The move effectively blocks President Donald Trump from making recess appointments while senators are away. Now, I think that this process kind of began when senators realized that there was a possibility that Trump could have fired Jeff Sessions and then found a way to get rid of Robert Mueller. But now it might be for a completely different reason. So many Americans must be wondering if the president is trying to pry open the office of Attorney General to appoint someone during the August recess who will fire special counsel Mueller and shut down the Russia investigation. But things are a little different now, okay? So Chuck Schumer released a statement and said, "Let me state for the record now, before this scheme gains wings, Democrats will never go along with the recess appointment if that situation arises. We have some tools in our toolbox to stymie such action. We're ready to use every single one of them," and they did. So Trump now has an open slot at the head of the Department of Homeland Security after he named General John Kelly as his chief of staff. So there is an open position, and the Senate wants to make sure that Trump doesn't make any appointments while they are on break. So
I would have played it differently, to be honest. I would have let Trump fire Jeff Sessions. Because one, Jeff Sessions is a horrible human being, and I would love to have him out of there. Number two, I think Trump really damages himself if he does that. And I think that accelerates his ouster. So I don't know that the Democrats played this right. And given their past track record, whatever it is that they do, they seem to be doing the wrong thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is backfired on. But what's interesting to me is how much the senators, circle the wagons and protect their own. Because Lindsey Graham nearly lost his pearls when there was any kind of threat against Sessions, and he was like, "You are not going to fire Jeff Sessions," and he went on a raving defense of him. So it's like a little club that they have, and once you're in the club, you protect one another, and it's like John McCain getting a standing ovation and applause when he left his deathbed to vote in favor of continuing the conversation in favor, for Trump care.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me how much the Senate is an insular body out to protect its own.
So this actually kind of thing that they're doing to Trump now was pioneered by the Democrats during the George W. Bush era. And Barack Obama, they did it to him too when he was trying to appoint the National Labor Relations Board. They did a pro forma session, so they were never in recess technically, and he didn't recognize it. And Obama, in one of his rare strong moments, he went and appointed the guy anyway. The Supreme Court overturned it, and they said Obama couldn't do that. So they've been doing this since George W. Bush. It goes back to when a recess appointment goes back to when it took the senators a long time to travel back to their districts and come back. Well, now it's one plane ride away, so that doesn't really. So this is a stupid thing that they even have a recess appointment anymore anyway. So yeah, I think they should get rid of it.
Yeah, I don't know why the Democrats are fighting so hard to maintain Jeff Sessions. I get it because they don't want Mueller to be fired because they like Mueller.
Yeah.
But wow, that's letting him fire Sessions. I think might be a good thing.
Yeah, but I don't think that this is just a Democratic effort. I don't think it's just Democrats in Senate that are pushing for this. I think there are members. I think there are GOP members in the Senate that see some of his behavior as problematic, and I think there are Republican senators, Republican members of Congress that see Trump as problematic, and maybe they're not as transparent about the way they feel, but I think that it's becoming more and more obvious that they see him as a threat, not only to the country, but I think they're more concerned about their own party.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I totally agree. I think it's interesting that the Republican senators are preventing their party leader from making these recess appointments. So the question to me is, are they doing it because they want Mueller in place and they want to see a real investigation, or is it because they are looking out for their own and Jeff Sessions? Maybe it's a little bit of both. But I agree with you, Anna. A lot of Republican lawmakers are not happy with Trump, and they would rather him not be there. But they're too cowardly to do anything against him until it's politically expedient. So they're going to wait for a little bit. So when Trump makes himself more of a nuisance and drags the party on even more. And we'll see what shakes out next year in 2018. If they lose some seats, then he's gone.
Yeah.
They're going to turn on him. If they do fine and they maintain a lot of seats, then he might just coast throughout the first term. And then the reality is that in 4 years, if the economy is doing really well, I don't know that we oust him, especially with the Democrats the way they run campaigns.
Yeah, I know. That's another devastating part of all of this. In fact, we have an example of Democrats making a pretty terrible mistake when we come back from the break. Again, make sure you use the hashtag TYT Live to tweet to us. We will read your tweets when we come back. Stay tuned.
All right, post game here in Studio B. It's a green screen magic of internet television.
A lot of condom breaking stories.
Any conversation that starts with marriage is an interesting thing deserves a little bit of.
When the kid cries, perhaps that's the that's an opportunity to do so. It's an opportunity to do so.
Yeah, parenting is you cry, you're gone.
Oh my God.
I love that video.
Yeah, Ben, I got a great achoo. You're like, my mouth was open, she sneezed in my eye.
I used to have Donut Tower next to my desk. Yeah, I'll dress up like a girl.
I sound confident now, Anna. When we're off the air, I'm going to be like, how is this going to work?
When you get literally asked why 21 straight times.
Yeah.
Like, at some point, you're fucking with me now, right?
So I dumped the kids off at her mom's, and I drove down to La Jolla for a day.
kids.
They're like, but Daddy, no.
Why? What do you mean, why? You asked me to look at you. You did it. You brought it up. You know you're doing it. Why?
I don't know why.
I was reading. She's lovely. Here's what's different. Like, it is a different feeling. Everybody says this, but it's 5:11 when we're shooting this. I can't wait to go home. Like that. I can't wait to see it.
What you guys do is allow us to be open and honest, and we don't have to worry about censorship. We don't have to worry about sponsors telling us what we can and can't say. We're accountable by our audience and our audience only, and I absolutely love that. That's the best part about being a member. We love you guys.
Hey, Jen, what's up? And my VCR keeps flashing 12, but it's not even midnight. Go. Damn it, they failed us. And if you're not angry about that, Michael, and any of you out there, then you're damn wrong. Because you should be angry. Young Turks.
It was genuine. He was bad.
Jake Uger, known online as one of the Young Turks, isn't afraid to throw some punches. 3, 2, 1, fade up.
I just remember thinking, what is this guy's name?
Jake the Turk Uga.
At a TV station, this says. The whole point is for me to yell and scream and tell you what I think.
It's right out of like Wayne's World.
This guy on this little rinky-dink website is speaking truth to power. We've been averaging 600,000 views a day,
Beating most of the cable shows in America. We're the largest online news show in the world. We're celebrating our 1 billionth view. We're coming. Foreign politics ahead with Cenk Uygur. He knew that the MSNBC opportunity was an experiment. If Bill and host beat CNN headline news combined, at some point they want to give me a show. Every single year that comes out of our paycheck. We put it in, and you're saying we were suckers.
When you, as a host, tells someone you're interviewing to shut up, that's going to raise a red flag.
That guy needed a tall glass of shut up. If President Obama's doing the wrong thing, I'm not going to tell you that he's doing the right thing so I can quote support him.
he says to me, "You won't believe the meeting that I just had."
The head of MSNBC talked to me.
They want him off the air.
Cenk took an incredible risk.
We're supposed to challenge the government. That's the role of the media. The Democrats and the Republicans are here to screw you. And who on the air is saying it?
I wouldn't have done what he did.
That if I'm going to be a talk show host, I'm going to be the biggest talk show host in the country. I don't think anyone else does it better. I don't think anyone's even close. Before you know it, I'll be back on your TV doing an actual show. I guarantee it.
Welcome back to TYT. Jimmy Dore, Steve-O, and Anna Kasparian with you. All right, a few TYT lives before we continue on with the rest of the stories. El Duende Chingon says, remember kids, whenever they're talking about lowering taxes, they're not talking about lowering your taxes. Yeah.
No, they are not.
If they do, it's like $20 for you,
yeah.
$20 million for them.
Yeah, always.
Remember when George Bush mailed everybody a check? You remember that?
That's right. Yeah.
I really like that check, though.
That's why they did it.
I mean, yeah. I definitely stimulated the economy. All right, Digital Shart says, when you lack empathy, something needs to affect you directly to sway you. Mortgage deduction would affect Trump diehards. Maybe. It really look. It depends on whether or not they actually go through with it, and even if they do, as Steve mentioned, it wouldn't necessarily impact, rural white Americans who are lucky enough to own a property because their mortgage is probably not worth $500,000. But yeah, I think it does show where their priorities are, though, and. Look, I made this point during the panel that I was on at Politicon. The panel was like heavily conservative. The audience was heavily conservative. We started talking about taxes, and I was like, and they all agreed, like, no, we do need to cut tax loopholes. And then I was like, okay, but Republicans don't want to cut corporate tax loopholes. They want to cut mortgage deductions. That's what they always focus on. And the audience was like, boo, boo. Like I was making it up, and I'm like, I'm not making this up. I know this for a fact, and then this story came out, so it was kind of amazing. All right, Vance.
That person's name, Digital Shart?
Digital Shart, yes.
You know what a shart is?
It's when you fart and then, like,
yes.
Fecal matter escapes the anus, I believe. All right.
That is right.
Vance Miller says, the sad truth remains that the people in our governments do not view Sessions as the vile piece of shit that he is. You guys keep it 100, and that's why I love him.
He is. He really is.
Yeah.
He's that good.
He's not. No.
Not good.
All right. You know who else is not good? The establishment Democratic Party, because they endorse really bad candidates, and we have another example for you.
Oh.
You guys ready?
All right, let's do it.
All right. The newly elected governor of West Virginia, Governor Jim Justice, has just announced that he is leaving the Democratic Party and switching over to the Republican side. Now, keep in mind that right before he ran as governor of West Virginia, he was a Republican, switched over to Democrat, and then ran. And because of the backing of establishment Democrats, he was able to win. And now he is switching his party. Now, before I get into the details about his past and what's really going on here and what the real issues are, let's hear from him and his reasoning for why he has decided to switch parties again.
Let me just say this to you as bluntly as I can say it. West Virginia, at the altar, when we had it done, like it or not like it, but the Democrats walked away from me.
You were never a Democrat to begin with, but nonetheless, let's hear a little more from him.
Today, I'll tell you as West Virginians, I can't help you anymore being a Democrat governor. So tomorrow, I will be changing my registration to Republican.
All right.
Sad.
Well,
the whole thing was sad in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Well, okay, him saying that he's switching party, I don't really care, right? I don't care because he was never Look,
I'm sad that anyone has any excitement for this guy. So he is the richest man in West Virginia. He's a coal magnet, and the notion that he gives one shit about any one of those people cheering for him is preposterous. He was a Democrat because he thought it was expedient. Then he became a Republican because he thinks that's expedient. So people who bother to go cheer for him, like, what are they thinking? That is.
Well, isn't it weird that the richest guy in the state becomes the ruler of the state? He becomes the governor. It's like we're living in medieval times. Like, the richest guy, and everybody's like, yeah, he's going to help us. The richest guy in the state is going to be your governor? This is what we've gotten to, though. This is how screwed up our politics is. This is what'll get you called an alt-lefty if you bring up how screwed up because now it's, our Congress is filled of millionaires and billionaires. Now our governorships are all what is going on in this country?
Look, it's one thing for the constituents of West Virginia to think that this billionaire, who, by the way, has gotten in trouble in the past for not paying his fair share of taxes, and also has gotten in trouble in the past because he didn't follow certain safety regulations in regard to his coal mines. I mean, like, it's one thing if they think he's going to look out for them, and he's not going to. I feel like that has been, the theme of
I'm not sure he's a
recently.
billionaire.
He is a billionaire.
He is? He's a billionaire?
Yeah, he's a billionaire. But what I'm actually...
But he cares, though.
What I'm actually more angry / disappointed in is how dumb establishment Democrats are.
They are dumb.
Okay, I know you guys are probably going on a gigantic rant. Let me just quickly say my piece, okay? Oh my God. Okay, let me just start with this graphic because the information here will also probably infuriate you. Graphic 21. Justice's party switch is a blow for the Democratic Governors Association, which spent more than $1 million in an effort to get him elected last year, while the Republican Governors Association spent $3.7 million backing his GOP rival. So, these Democratic governors, this association, huddle together, and they're like, yo, here's a dude who actually doesn't have any values that are aligned with Democrats, okay? He is a billionaire who doesn't like
coal magnet.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't care about the safety regulations to protect his coal miners. Great. Let's spend $1 million to get him elected in West Virginia. How about the Democratic establishment actually prop up people that have the same values as us, right? And that's the biggest issue. We had that issue with the, general election, and then, you have this issue on a smaller level when it comes to governors and members of Congress. Just wake up. Stop spending money and resources on people that don't actually reflect our values.
So he was first elected to office last year, and he was wooed by both the Republicans and the Democrats. Why? For his values or because he's rich? That's it. That's all the parties care about. So parties care first and foremost about money. Do you have money? Do you have access to money? If you do, we're going to back you. We're going to woo you. Then we'll spend our money to back you because that's all we care about. So the Democratic Party wooed this guy, spent $1 million on him, and then he flipped. Because they're clueless. I mean, come on. So even when they win, they still lose.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
And not all, obviously, but some Democrats would much rather run their mouths about how terrible someone like Bernie or his supporters are, instead of actually doing a little bit of self-reflection to try to figure out why it is that people are leaving the electorate. Members of the electorate are leaving the Democratic Party. They're not turning their backs on you. You've turned your backs on them, right?
Yeah.
And that's the big problem.
And one of the biggest complaints by the Democratic voters is that we didn't vote for Hillary, we didn't vote for a lot of people because they're the same. The two parties are the same. And then you have other people say, no, they're very, very different. Well, this proves they're not that different. They're literally the same. They're the exact same human being. He was a Democrat today, and tomorrow he's a Republican. He took $1 million from the Democrats, and tomorrow he'll take $1 million from the Republican Party. And it's the same donors funding the whole thing. So it gives total credence to the notion that the two parties are identical. They're not. There are differences. But you need to underscore those differences and explain to the voters why they should bother taking a day off from work, standing in a long line to vote for a candidate other than, well, we're better than them. Okay, that's a crap message. That's no message at all. So it's deeply, deeply frustrating, disturbing, and all of that.
So think of it this way. You know how the Democrats decided to get behind this guy, even though he's a coal magnate and he's a billionaire, and I'm sure he doesn't share any of the values that a progressive Democrat would share. Can you imagine it happening the other way, that it was a real liberal Republican running for governor somewhere, and the GOP put all this money behind him? Inconceivable that there was two super liberal guys running for a governorship. One's a Democrat, one's a super liberal Republican, and the Republicans want to get this liberal Republican and elected. That would never, ever happen. But the Democrats will put all their weight behind a super conservative guy who claims he's a Democrat, because they don't give a shit about going left. They really want to go where the money is, just like you said.
All they care about.
It's insane.
It is insane. And right now there's donors in Florida, right? You've heard about that story, that are back in the Republican over a Democrat. So a lot of Hillary donors are now. We need a revolution, and Bernie wasn't wrong. He was right, and it's getting almost too late for one.
Yeah, look, we need a party that actually listens to the concerns of the electorate, and right now we don't have that, and it worries me. Instead, we have a bunch of defiant people who have enjoyed this system and they don't want to change it. You know, and the defiance is what gets to me the most, because you have a huge portion of the electorate telling you, please just listen to our concerns, and they're like, no. And then they go ahead and antagonize those people. Well,
Yes.
continue antagonizing them. They're not going to vote for you.
It didn't work last time. Let's keep doing it.
And I'm just amazed at the people in the crowd who think that because this billionaire coal magnate switched from Democrat to Republican, it matters, a pittance to them.
I know.
All of a sudden, your lives are going to be better? Like, come on, guys.
Anyway.
Sad.
Babies. Anyway, all right. We got to take a break, and then we'll start with the second hour. Thank you to Jimmy and Steve for helping me do hour one. When we come back, Brett Ehrlich and Ida Rodriguez join us, so stay tuned.
Great news. TYT is partnering with Participant Media to help solve the climate crisis, but we need your guys' help. Make sure you check out our series, 10 Days of Action, to learn more about what you can do to make a difference. And also, go see An Inconvenient Sequel, Truth to Power. It's in theaters nationwide right now. It has a really important message, and I want all of you guys to learn that and absorb it. It's very important. And look, if President Trump isn't going to lead, then we should. And I believe in the American people, and I think we can do it. Already, the majority of Americans are on our side. And so are civic leaders, mayors, governors, and businesses, and they're all moving forward to stop climate change. So don't worry, guys. No single person can stop us. If we fight together, we can win. So I pledge to join the movement and #BeInconvenient. Go to inconvenientsequel.com/action to be part of the solution. Welcome back to TYT Sports. Jason and Francis here. This is where everybody has to live. Welcome to TYT Sports, everybody. I am your host, Francis Maxwell. Jason here. Welcome to TYT Sports. Search and George TYT Sports. Steph Curry signed with Under Armour. Tom Brady's mad, by the way. Can you hear me? Fight on TYT Sports! Actually, we were in the description box before I was going to lie. In the description box. Hello. And it's a throw another picture of the UK bacon. And another. Then if I throw in another one. Is it really?
Hey guys, welcome back to TYT. I brought us in, but to keep it real, Brett Ehrlich is leading hour 2 today, and I'm super excited about that because I get to take a load off.
God help us, is all I gotta say. Just so everyone knows how seriously I take this job, water and hot chocolate.
That definitely means you're taking it seriously. Ida Rodriguez also joins us today, which I'm super excited about. I haven't done the show with you in a while, and I was salty about it, so now I'm excited.
Thank you for having me. And let's just give Anna I go super Latin, just one more pound for that and culture debate. I was there live, and I was just floored. I was like, what is this? This is an uneven match.
I haven't talked to you really since then about it.
She killed it.
I saw the video online later, and I saw Torre say, "I'm not going to say a cat fight," and I was just like, "Oh God!" So, I can't believe you did that.
Yeah, that was.
But you did great.
I did. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for saying that, and I appreciate it. It was fun. I had a good time, and I love Torre. I think he was trying to make a joke.
Yeah, not well.
Yeah, and like the audience was divided, and I think he was trying to like soften the mood, and so. Anyway, but it was fun. I had a good time.
Yeah, he did the head nod a couple of times, and I was proud of him because he tried to be as impartial as he could be.
Yeah,
but
he held back.
Some of the things that she said that were just so ridiculous that I actually put it on Instagram that he did this when she said that Latinos were the main anti-Semitic group, and it was just like, wow.
Yeah, also the fact that she was like, oh, these Latinos are, coming into the black communities and taking their jobs and making life very difficult for them. And then literally in the same debate, she talked about black on black crime.
Yeah.
And, where are the fathers? The typical conservative, like, where are the black fathers? That's the reason why. Anyway, you guys should watch the debate yourselves. If you have time, if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine as well. And, yeah.
She was there to sell books. She wasn't there to support anything. She made points against Donald Trump that everybody was just like, why is she here? Her group. I was sitting with Trump supporters and they were like, what is she talking about? And I said, you guys, that's your girl.
That's your girl. Yep. All right.
Speaking of your girl, I'm here. All right, let's get into it, shall we?
Let's do it, yes.
Martin Shkreli, person whose name just makes you want to punch him already without even seeing him. Martin Shkreli was found guilty today on 3 of 8 counts of fraud. He faces up to 20 years in prison. He has not been sentenced yet, so it won't necessarily hit those 20. Oh, God, there he is. I just want to pinch his cheeks and punch him in the face at the same time, but I won't. I was show restraint. Okay, so the case. What was the case? You heard everything about Martin Shkreli being the guy who raised the price of a pharmaceutical 5,500%. He did not get convicted for that. Actually, what he was convicted for was a fraud case against some of his investors. He runs 2 hedge funds, one MSMB Capital, the other MSMB Healthcare. And what happened is he got sued for essentially illegally he got prosecuted for illegally using money from his pharmaceutical company to pay off his hedge fund investors and lying to them along the way as to how their investments were doing, essentially buying time before he raided his pharmaceutical company to pay them. The evidence, as presented by the New York Times, coming from this case, included a threatening letter he sent to the wife of a former employee, statements he sent to MSMB investors showing great returns. At the same time, he had no money in fund accounts. 3 versions of a backdated agreement to make it look as if MSMB Capital had invested in Retrofin, which is his pharmaceutical company, when it had not, as well as claims about assets under management that were wildly out of line with his actual fund size. So he lied about how big it was.
History is great because it teaches you to not make the mistakes that were made by certain individuals in the past, right? You don't even have to do any extensive research into history. Bernie Madoff is in prison right now because of his Ponzi schemes. It's funny to me that he thought he could get away with this, and I'm glad he didn't.
Right. So, yeah, this a lawsuit 4 years in the making.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the great things to look back on is throughout the lawsuit, he had said a bunch of different things, including this one, which was, I'm so innocent. The jury, the judge, and the prosecution are going to give me an apology.
Yeah.
So what is your takeaway on Martin Shkreli after this?
You know what? He reminds me of the quote from Malcolm X, "The chicken's coming home to roost." Because I remember him bragging about that Wu-Tang album, that cash rules everything around me. And, you know, first of all, he looks like a missing cast member of a Tim Burton movie. Like, Scissorhands is missing a cast member right now.
Oh
he
my
looks
God,
so
you're right.
creepy. And, you know.
What do you mean? He's very attractive.
I know that I shouldn't judge him on appearance, but it's not necessarily how he looks, it's just how he carries himself.
No, exactly. Like, for me, it's not, his physical appearance it's not important, but it's his ugliness inside, like the things that he says in public that just make him appear uglier, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to roll with my ugly, because I'm not as dignified as these two, but I think he's, you know, when I think about, I have a friend who's HIV positive, who actually acquired or contracted HIV through a blood transfusion many years ago. And when I think about his struggle in life, and just a very hardworking person, and his medication being jacked up with this amount for this amount, somebody who thought it was cool and was so smug about it, you know what I mean, was just like the whole time, every single interview, you just showed me one. Every time you see him, it's like this smug, you know, like above everybody, like this cool to be slimy thing. So when things like this happen, it makes you feel like, oh, sometimes there is justice. You know?
Right. I think it takes a certain type of person. And look, I'm not a mental health expert and I can't diagnose people, but sociopaths can comfortably screw people over when it comes to their life-saving drugs, you know, and you're right, he was completely unapologetic about it, incredibly smug and defiant, and so they had a really hard time finding jurors for this case because so many people knew who he was, absolutely despised him. There were people who didn't even know who he was and said that they found him, like, strange or questionable on face alone, which I thought was interesting. We covered that story as well. So look, I just want justice to be served.
Yep.
You know, I don't want to go after people in a ridiculously aggressive way. I just want fair justice, and hopefully in this case, now that he's been found guilty, you know, his sentencing will reflect that.
But what's so crazy, and definitely when I heard 20 years as a maximum for what he could be sentenced for, I took into consideration what actually his defense brought up, which is like the people he defrauded them not out of money. He just lied to them along the way. At the end, they got paid more than their investment. Mm-hmm. He lied to them along the way. And one of the weird things is, yes, I want this guy, I don't care what happens to him personally. I just feel like in a world where we're fighting so hard for like healthcare reform, so many people are focused on like the healthcare law and the way that the health insurance industry is structured without really getting a lot of talk about the insane rising cost of healthcare in the first place. That just keeps going up, and so the people have to pay more and more and more. And we need to solve it that way. But this case was not about raising the price of a drug or Daraprim on people who need it.
Yeah. I mean, there are so many lawmakers that are complicit in that type of behavior. Yeah. We see it all the time. The mistake that he made is he got too greedy and he increased the price too much. But you have pharmaceutical companies behaving that way on a regular basis, and they're protected by our lawmakers because they are in the pockets of these lawmakers, and that's the frustrating thing. And you're right. You know, we have these discussions and these debates about healthcare and the rising cost of healthcare in the country, and then we talk about how we can restructure things and have cost controls, and all that stuff is important. But what's also important is to shift the focus on, you know, the price gouging that happens within this world. You know, whether it comes to pharmaceutical drugs or doctors overcharging for things, that's a big problem. There are certain procedures where I'm like, I know that this doesn't really cost that much.
I just got a bill from the doctor that was ridiculous. And I will say that because I know some of the people are going to get really weird about me saying that the dude is ugly, but I truly believe that real ugly comes from the inside out. Yeah. And this is the when you do dirty business with dirty people that's what happens. And so, like what you're saying, a lot of people are doing this, and he happens to be the fall guy because he got above himself. He thought that he was beyond the game, that he could walk around and he could just laugh and do these interviews, and he thought, and that's why I say it's the chickens coming home to roost, because there was nobody nobody covered him.
Yeah.
He's taking the fall.
And it's good for the argument that health insurance companies and specifically pharmaceutical companies, in addition to saving a lot of lives, seem like they're out to get you and are, being evil and raising the price. And he feels, you're right, just like a character, like a completely heightened version of reality that we can all kind of gravitate toward, and now we have a face that goes with it. But the details of what happened during this case, like he would go out immediately afterwards and talk to the press, and the judge had to say, "You got to stop doing that." And then he also, during like the closing arguments or something, was reading a book.
Yeah.
In the courtroom.
He's unruly.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And then there's another thing that's it's a good thing for the prosecution of these kinds of cases, they said, according to the New York Times, in that these New York area prosecutors have to go up against these super expensive lawyers a lot of the time. And those super expensive lawyers, it's easier to recruit amazing lawyers to your firm if you can pay them the kind of rates that you're going to end up charging to billionaire pharmaceutical company heads. So this is a big win for prosecution in the district court.
He better walk into prison quoting that Wu-Tang album. Some help in there.
Oh gosh! All right, another court case has taken another step. Let me find this now. Okay. You may have heard the story about the girlfriend who convinced her boyfriend to kill himself. Her name is Michelle Carter. His name was Conrad Roy. She was found guilty earlier this year of, I think it was like wanton reckless behavior, encouraging her boyfriend to kill himself. And she was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison. The story as it went down was, you heard a lot of kind of gory details really along the way about how he stepped out of the suicide in progress, contacted her and said he was scared, and she told him to go back in there. Along the way, there were texts back and forth telling him when to do it, how to do it, really being the mastermind of the whole thing. So the sentencing came back as 2.5 years, and the sentence was far lighter, according to some reporting, than what prosecutors had hoped for. During Thursday's hearing, they asked Moniz, the judge, to sentence Carter to 7 to 12 years in prison. Carter's defense requested that she receive no jail time and 5 years supervised probation under various conditions, including mental health counseling, because she herself had exhibited behavior consistent with mental illness in addition to eating disorders. The judge explained the ruling, saying Moniz said that he did not find Carter's age, her level of maturity, or mental illness to have, quote, any significant impact on her actions. However, he added that her age, quote, offers a greater chance of rehabilitation. So they wanted 12 years. They got 2.5. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'm fine with the sentence. I think that her mental health condition should be taken into account with the sentencing, even though the judge said that that wasn't taken into consideration. What she did was horrible, and I did feel like she needed to face some consequences. However, at the end of the day, the person who decides to take his or her life is the person responsible for taking his or her life. Those text messages were really hard to read, and you're right. She had an opportunity to save his life, and instead of doing so, she encouraged him to go back into that car and die. And that, it's really hard to accept that there are people out there that would do that, but there are. And I think that there should be punishment. I think that 7 years, 15 years, that's a little too long. I do think there's an opportunity for rehabilitation, and I hope that she does have some rehabilitation or experience some rehabilitation.
I think you and I covered this story together before, and I would say that I agree with that, but I want to say something because the face of terror is changing. There's the cheerleader the young girl who just killed her baby, and the sorority girl who killed her baby, and and I know people get mad at me because I bring up race a lot, but I just think it's important that this mean girl thing that has just been, it's such a big thing in our country with bullying and this whole mean girl thing. It's good to see someone face consequences for doing mean, heinous stuff. And it's not, we see young black faces all the time for all the horrific things that they do. This is terroristic behavior as well. And so with her, I had an eating disorder, and I never thought about making somebody want to kill themselves. So her attorney kept mentioning the eating disorder, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, she hates herself, and I get it, and maybe she throws up or she vomits or whatever it is. I do think what she did was awful. I don't think that she should go to prison for 7 years, but it's good to see consequences, and I love the Young Turks for covering these stories because I saw a lot of sympathy for her, and that really concerns me because it's this little skinny young white girl that is like, oh my God, you're gonna send her to prison with all of the like real scary people. She's a scary person. What she did was horrible. Like, I would rather her hit me with a car than to talk me into my own suicide.
Yeah,
like,
right?
It's so freaking mean. And then to use that later to brag about it, which was really. So I don't think she should go to jail forever.
Yeah, I mean that's. She didn't brag about convincing him to commit suicide, but she did. After he died, she made a big deal about it and got the community together to I think raise money for his funeral and played it off as if she was like the hero in the situation.
Right.
And then the investigation turned up evidence indicating that she actually encouraged him to go through with the suicide. That was the story is just so horrendous. It's hard to even comment on it.
Right.
It's so horrendous.
The framing that I understand that justifies her going to jail is if this was another crime and she was the mastermind behind it, saying here's when we're going to do it, here's where we're going to do it, here's how we're going to do it, and if someone's chickening out on her team during the heist, saying get back in there and do it. Well, then she would go to jail. She would be culpable for that. Now, in Massachusetts, where this happened, one of the suggestions given by someone who said, so some legal experts took a look at this and said they thought that it was going to be overturned on appeal. So she won't go to jail until the appeals process is done. And some legal experts have said that it'll get overturned.
Yeah.
And the best hope for making sure that stuff like this doesn't happen in the future is to put forward a law that criminalizes coerced suicide. So that's the other approach to it. Do you think that's a good idea?
I think that's actually a very smart idea because if you don't have that type of law, well then, and by the way, the law needs to be written in a very specific, detailed way, right? Because you need to define what the coercion means. It can't just be like some arbitrary thing. And so having a law would make it easier to rule in these cases. It's because again, the person who takes his or her own life, that's the person who's responsible for committing suicide. But this was a unique case considering that body of evidence where she did really pressure him to go through with it. So anyway,
the thing that bothered me the most was the language that her father used when he made a statement for the judge, and he said that she would be better for it, and that I'm a mom. So I think that really bothered me to hear somebody say that someone else's death, that because of that, what she did, that she would be better for it. I think, it was just, it's just,
right.
It's weird.
And we have, on Pop Trigger, we have a lot of younger fans, and I totally get the temptation to do weird stuff for attention. It's a temptation you can't deny. But this kind of thing, it could enter your mind, whatever, but don't do it. It's not worth it. Any kind of, attempted suicide for attention, any way to coerce someone in a grand plan to take their own lives. It's one of those things that I'm sure when you're 17 that to me, as an older, I'm 35, to me that sounds absolutely ridiculous. And just have faith that time will pass, go through it, do something productive.
Just help someone who's in need. Help someone. If they're saying that they're considering suicide or that they're depressed, be a friend. Be a good girlfriend. Help. Be a good person. Just help that person out. Have some empathy.
And I tell you, as a mom, one thing that the doctors always tell me is that their cerebral cortex is not fully develop until you're 25, so that a lot of people don't have accountability. They don't have a big sense of accountability. But what I will tell you is that you're not going to be 17, 18 forever. And that's something you got to live with. And to know that someone, at some point, your consciousness will catch up with you if you are a normal human. And just to have somebody's blood on your hands like that for the rest of your life, it's got to be awful.
Yeah, and one other little aspect of this decision in the sentencing that I thought was very important is that the judge says that after this is all said and done, she is not to profit in any way from the sale of movie rights,
that's awesome.
book rights, or anything like that. So I think that's something that, I don't know if it's in a lot of court cases, but it's important that it's part of it.
Absolutely. All right, we got to take a break. Let's do that, and when we come back, you want to tease?
Well,
what's to happen?
There's a crowdfunding website for white supremacists. Really, there's going to be a new pot-style Disneyland. We'll tell you where and when. And Trump's going on vacation.
Okay.
We'll look at the vacation schedules of previous presidents as well and see how it compares. And then a boob towel.
You don't want to miss it. Come right back.
Great news. TYT is partnering with Participant Media to help solve the climate crisis, but we need your guys' help. Make sure you check out our series, 10 Days of Action, to learn more about what you can do to make a difference. And also, go see an Inconvenient sequel, Truth to Power. It's in theaters nationwide right now. It has a really important message, and I want all of you guys to learn that and absorb it. It's very important. But look, if President Trump isn't going to lead, then we should. And I believe in the American people, and I think we can do it. Already, the majority of Americans are on our side. And so are civic leaders, mayors, governors, and businesses, and they're all moving forward to stop climate change. So don't worry, guys. No single person can stop us. If we fight together, we can win. So I pledge to join the movement and hashtag #BeInconvenient. Go to inconvenientsequel.com/action to be part of the solution. Complex subject. Nobody knew that healthcare could be so complicated.
You said I had small hands. They're not smaller. I never heard that one before.
I'm going to tell you a story, and then I want you to tell me what you think about the way I reacted to the situation, and if you thought it was acceptable.
Guilty. Oh, wait. I gotta wait for the story.
I know Anna Kasparian has some stuff to say, and the world needs to hear it.
But then he became woke man. I hate it.
I love it. I love it.
Susan and I used to do this trick where we would elongate the videos so that we would look skinnier.
That is the most positive drug dealing story I've ever heard of.
Bears don't give a fuck. I trust you guys, audience. Don't let me down.
You don't believe in ghosts? Try my pussy. Don't.
Hey, we got Spawn and TYT. What is this puzzle spell?
Oh, death.
Did you want to poop outside? No, I poop here. It's fine because I bury it. And you know what happens in that water? It turns frogs gay.
And they can't stand the establishment. And then I slipped and fell on my ass.
Guess I gotta get comfortable here.
That is tomorrow's joke, Jay. When your time is up, what wouldn't you do for just one more day?
I'm gonna try to have sex with you. If you don't want it right now, just roll up a newspaper and hit.
Hottest club I've ever been to is my bedroom. People often say that you are the Jasmine of TYT.
Yep. Please, I am not with you, baby. You gotta let me go.
Oh God, this hurts so bad.
You're alive. You're alive. The last day is not any more valuable than today is.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Young Turks. A few TYT lives for you. I'm loving these tweets. So D Bell says, unfortunately, he will be in a club fed. Wish it was the worst place so he learns what life is like. I think you mean a Club Med.
No, Club Fed.
What's Club Fed?
At least what I know from Ace Ventura.
Oh.
It's instead of a Club Med
Uh-huh.
for federal criminals. You know, when you say a low security prison.
Yeah, you're right, because it's not considered a violent offense, although there are a ton of people with nonviolent offenses in our prison system. Anyway, but if you're rich, you get treated differently. Mal McButta says 6/8 of my favorite panel members of all time on the show this Friday. How did I get so lucky?
Wow. Awesome. I'm not going to do the math because I'm afraid it won't make me feel good about myself, but I think that we'll see. Thank you, Ish, tentatively.
And Miri says, I'm glad the judge banned her from being able to make money off the story. No Lifetime movie bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, but you stay tuned for the Lifetime movie, whatever her name was, but like a strange permutation of it.
Yeah.
Where it's like Schmishmel Schmarter story.
Yeah, of course. All right, let's do it. Let's go to the next story.
Okay. It finally happened for all you folks that want to give money to alt-right YouTube personalities. They have a new crowdfunding website. You may have heard of Patreon for traditional YouTubers. Well, the alt-right has their own, and it's called Hatreon. Hatreon. Here is a look at the website. Hatreon. It is a place where you can click on any of these beloved alt-right YouTubers and give donations to their new initiatives. For those of you who don't know what Patreon is one of those things where you can subscribe to your favorite YouTuber, give them like $10 every month, and then you can get perks, or you can just do it out of the goodness of your heart. The thing with Patreon is it has hate speech standards. So if you espouse hatred, Patreon. And Jack, he's a YouTuber, one of the nicest people I've ever met. They put together some rules saying you can't actively espouse hate speech and use our platform, so they got kicked off. And this is a place started by Cody Wilson that allows you to support the initiatives of some of your favorite alt-right personalities. I almost said alt-white. There's no alt, it's white personalities. And so I looked on it to see what kind of things are they doing, and in addition to some of them being reestablishing the patriarchy and taking off the yoke of Jewish-controlled media. Here's one from Sam Hyde. He just wants to do an interactive video game. He wants to do a GoFundMe project called Go F Me, is the working title, and then a car review show, like a low-budget Top Gear. No title yet.
That sounds fun.
They're really, some of them are just delightful ideas. It's in my spare time, I want to do my other passion project besides hating people of color. And trolling well-meaning liberal minds.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I live in a reality where I'm always faced with discrimination because I'm a person of color. So when I hear people be appalled to see the people who are open about but it's just like the reality. It's like, what do you want? My people are I'm a diaspora person, so my people came from Africa on slave ships. They were taken to Puerto Rico. They were brought here. We did not ask to come here, and we've been paying for it ever since. And it's like these people who really want to be able to say, we hate you, go back. There's not going to be a mass exodus of people of color. We're not getting on the ship and going back. That's not going to happen. At some point, we're going to have to, and I think it's Patreon, because I think the owner the owner thought it was cute that it had the word hate in it, because he was like, oh, it's a cute little pun or whatever. But it's just like at some point, like when you hear white dudes that are so angry about us being here, and women, white women, they don't like you either. You're also secondary to them. It's just at this point, it's just like this shit is all ridiculous.
So earlier this week we did this story about how Jeff Sessions and the Justice Department are planning on going after universities that implement affirmative action,
right?
And it's because they feel like it's discriminating against white students. And so there was an analysis done to see which students actually suffer the most from affirmative action, and
if you want to be racist about it,
Asian students and Indian students, because if you want to look at academics, they do better academically.
Right.
In fact, if you do away with affirmative action, the group that suffers the most is white women, which is kind of amazing. So anyway, I mean, it is what it is. Be careful what you wish for. But, just quickly going back to Patreon, do you booze?
I think it's
like, do you booze? Like, you want to, I mean, okay, so it exists. And now there's a platform available for people to fund this type of rhetoric and this type of speech. I mean, look, I believe in a free marketplace of ideas. I believe in debating ideas instead of censoring them. And I obviously don't agree with the alt-right. We obviously don't get along. But I do believe in free speech. And I do believe that, if they want a way of funding the content that they put out there, I'm not going to get in that way, in the way.
I tell you what, it was an amazing little rabbit hole to go down today, watching the videos of these folks. Like, some of them are actually funny. And they just go, joke. There was one guy who did, he had a joke, and that was quoted in this article. Mark Zuckerberg was able to pull off a, quote, warm handshake, Photoshop, in only 7 to 10 tries, down from his previous record of 16. It was like, oh, that's a joke about Mark Zuckerberg not being a very personable person. And it was like a solid little joke, and I enjoyed it. And not this guy, but other ones are like, going along, funny joke. I hate Jewish people.
I know.
Women can't do anything.
Well, here's another thing that I find pretty fascinating. Look, we're living in a really interesting time where people feel comfortable about being transparent in regard to their bigotry or their homophobia or their xenophobia, all of that stuff. They feel like it's totally fine. I'm going to go ahead and put myself out there. And I think that it's important that transparency is something that's discussed, because I think for a really long time, this country was in denial about our race problem, and our bigotry problem, xenophobia problem, and now it's out there. And so it allows us to at least discuss it in an honest way. But also, look, you're putting your face out there and saying these hideous things, and that could have ramifications. So
I agree.
I mean, if you want to do it. I'm not standing in the way. I like fighting ideas with information and education and debating,
And you do it well. But and I'm with you. Do you booze? And she said. But you know what? It's funny. I do agree with that. I think that also you think about these groups, because I was at Politicon and I saw them recruiting some of the young people that I was talking to. So I think that it's important for white people to speak about their fears and about being able to express what they've learned about race, because a lot of kids who are disenfranchised, who are lonely, who are depressed, are recruited by these groups, and they find a home wherever it is. Hate has a place for people who are hurt, because hurt people hurt people. So when I think about these groups, I'm with you. If you want to do that, there are people doing that already. Like, we get shocked when we hear about racism on YouTube. Racism lives on YouTube constantly. There is a comment on one of my videos that says, I did not know monkeys could talk. So I see it all.
That's horrible, but it's pretty tame for YouTube comments.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, there's some pretty terrible stuff on you. Yeah, and it is what it is. People, hide behind their anonymity, and that's something that we've been talking about for such a long time. And now they're coming out there and they're like, I'm not anonymous anymore. Okay, right. I think all these terrible things, and okay, put yourself out there. It is what it is.
Yeah. This website, it's not the only. What is it? Hatreon? Is that how it's pronounced?
No, he said Hatreon.
Hatreon. Oh, Hatreon. I keep forgetting. Hatreon will not give them the satisfaction of hearing me pronounce it correctly. It was created by Cody Wilson, who is a self-described old anarchist who was on the list of Wired's 50 most dangerous people in 2015 because he put out 3D blueprints for printing guns untraceably, and he had the backing of 16 Congress people and the Cato Institute. But it's weird, yeah, when you're talking about for white people to share their whatevers, it's I think one of my biggest fears is emotional vulnerability.
Yeah.
And communicating my true feelings.
It's
really sad. I don't know how. I just break down and tell a joke whenever I get close to my actual feelings.
You get awkward?
Yep. It's really, really bad. All right. Let's move on to our next story of the day. President Trump is going on vacation. Wouldn't you know it? It's his first official vacation. Here he is seen leaving the Oval Office. Let's take that photo of him. First photo. Timeliness is always great. Timing is not necessary. Okay, it was a visual gag. We'll just go right past it. The president is going on here. There he is. See, it would have been great if an orange slug showed up when I said, here's the president slithering his way out of the... Thank you for that pity laugh. Okay,
that was good.
Yes, it would have been fantastic, and it's one of those visual gags that'll play well on Sirius XM later. All right, he will be spending 17 days at his private club in New Jersey to take a much-needed break from the place he spends most of his time, Crazy Town. How does the president... here is the statement by the Washington Post count on Thursday. By the end of this vacation, Trump will have taken 53 days at leisure, compared to Obama's 15 vacation days at the end of August during his own first term as president. Trump has, to date, almost doubled the former president's trips to the links. Moreover, Obama played 17 rounds of golf by the end of August in 2009. Trump has played 33 times that are known about before heading to Bedminster. This, while saying once, actually multiple times, he went after Obama for his time on the links and his vacation, saying, don't take vacations, what's the point? If you're not enjoying your work, you're in the wrong job. Thoughts?
I mean, wow. We knew that this is what was going to happen. And so there was a lot of tough talk from him during Obama's administration about the amount of time he took off. And here's the thing. Being president is the hardest job in the world. Yeah. Literally the hardest job in the world, right? You have to make incredibly difficult decisions. There's a reason why presidents come in looking one way and then 4 years later, in some cases 8 years later, look like they've aged 20 years. Yeah. It's a difficult, stressful job. And so, look, I think that they should have some time off just so they can do their jobs effectively. But since Trump has gotten elected, every weekend he goes golfing, right? He takes a ton of time off, doesn't want to do intelligence briefings, doesn't want to do the hard work. I'm curious why he wanted to be president in the first place, other than trying to benefit financially from this position of power. But the thing that just gets to me was the nonstop criticism toward other presidents for taking time off. And then he has the audacity to take an insane amount of time off in this just first 7 months. So it is what it is.
I mean, I think he wanted to be president because to him it's the ultimate popularity contest. Mm-hmm. And now that it's gone awry because people really hate him. And there are people who have dedicated their lives to showing him how many people hate him. Mm-hmm. But I do think that, like I've said here before, I am a true believer that all politicians are negotiable to some degree and they all have their issues. But the hard-on that Trump had for Obama and the constant lies and always pinpointing everything about Obama. And now when you listen to the blind supporters, the Trump blind supporters, I call them the bite the nose to spite their facers. Like when you listen to them, and there's always a defense for every single thing that he does. But when you go back and look at the tweets to Obama when he was in office, like, how dare you go on your vacation? You know, why is Michelle wearing a shirt where you can see her shoulders? Like, every single thing, now that he's doing it, there is a defense for this. So it's so obvious that the reason so many of you guys hated Obama was because he's black. And, you know, and I remember when Obama played golf the first time, I didn't know black people could play golf. And I remember all the stuff. It's just,
a lot of country clubs still have rules where they can't.
That's insane. And Tiger Woods is black, right?
Yeah. Well, he's Caucasian. That's what he calls himself.
Yeah. It's amazing. To compare Trump to other presidents after their first year. So these are the total vacation days taken by presidents at the end of their first year. Carter took only 19 vacation days. Ronald Reagan took 42 days of vacation. George H.W. Bush took 40. Bill Clinton, 21. George W., 69. And Obama ended his first year with 26 vacation days, according to the Annenberg Public Policy Center's fact check. And how can you compare this? Because a lot of times, when asked if the president is playing golf today, his cabinet tries to hide it.
Because he plays golf all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
It's so crazy.
Okay, according to your numbers, if you're a Republican, you have to take a minimum of 40 vacation days because they all have 40 and above on the first year. But that lady with the eyebrows, I can't. Sarah, I can't.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Yeah, I can't.
It's okay. She can. She does. So Obama spent $100 million in the first 8 years, according to a conservative estimate. It's not a conservative estimate. It's from a conservative group's estimate. Mar-a-Lago, according to most estimates, has cost us $20 million so far. Other estimates go as high as 50. One of those estimates, which you can track at your leisure, is the Trump golf count. This website that is up. So just Google Trump golf count. I don't remember what the website actually is, but it'll tell you the running taxpayer cost of sending the president to various golf excursions. They have the count at 41 rounds of golf.
But he went on vacation today, right? So I'm like, quick, somebody break into the White House and run the country for real.
I know.
I wonder if they said, because the story is he's leaving town, and while he's gone, they're going to fix the heating and air conditioning, which has gotta be just a made-up story to get him away.
They gotta fix that dump up.
Just like, please leave. And I mean, I don't conspiracy theorize very often, but I feel like this is time for John Kelly and Sessions to put additional personal listening devices in every corner of the White House in their ridiculous search for leaks, so that they can monitor everybody, every time, everywhere.
Yeah.
That leak thing today drove me crazy because it's so transparent. It's like you're trying to leak. You're trying to stomp down on leaks because the only time these leaks came out, they embarrassed the president.
Yeah.
They embarrassed him. It's like the last 3 leaks were like when the president said he had a good phone call.
I think Mike Pence is leaking.
I think it's Reince. I think Reince was like, it was really fun to work for the president. I wish him the best.
By the way, I'm making the Mike Pence thing up because it's a joke. Like, he'd want to be president if Trump got impeached. Anyway, I'm joking. I don't want anyone to take that seriously.
But we do know there's a new level of petty in the White House. Like, it's somebody's in there doing the dirt.
All right, we have to get to the titty towel story.
Titty towel, let's do it.
So, you know what? Let's do it now because we're running out of time, and I think it's fun. We will save the cannabis desert town paradise for Monday's show. It's not that time.
Okay.
So.
All right, let's do it. The Tata towel. I gotta go to that. All right. We've hyped it a lot, and now you're gonna see it. For all you ladies who need help drying out your tatas, I give you the Tata towel. Let's take a look. can also check them out on Facebook, facebook.com/tatatowel.
I like your face right now. You gotta say it.
In there.
I just don't. I don't understand. I don't understand it. Like, I read into it a little bit because I thought it was fascinating. Like, why would people actually need this? And so, when it comes to women who are nursing, it could be very useful. So, more power to you. At least there's one good reason for it.
The leakage.
Right, because if you're nursing, yeah, the leakage is a problem, and so this could be useful, and I totally understand that. If you are not nursing, I don't get why you can't just use a regular towel.
So do you wear this? I'm sorry. Do you?
I'm wearing one right now.
Do you wear it under a shirt, or is this? Do you just
that's interesting.
rock the towel?
We have a graphic 20. Can we throw up graphic 20? That shows it in use post shower.
So is the point to, like, it's a hot summer day and you want it to, like, take care of, like, underboob sweat?
Yeah, so here's from the horse's mouth. Erin Robertson, the creator of the Tata Towel, she says, I tried everything. I tucked washcloths under my breasts to dry them out. I tried dumping baby powder all over me. I even put a t-shirt on and tucked it under my boobs. But the washcloths looked ridiculous. The baby powder made me look more like dough, and the t-shirt was making me sweat even more. I think it's a combo of boob sweat. In my experience, under my boobs they sweat a lot. And so if I had this after I got out of the shower, I wouldn't have to spend a lot of time as my body's still warm. And there's still some moisture under the boob. If I had this to just kind of soak it up as I'm cooling down, I wouldn't have those embarrassing under boob things. Also, underwire bras, am I right, ladies?
Yeah,
Someone doing this all day.
I just think if you have a problem with underboob sweat, I understand that you need something to help you out with that because it's embarrassing when you're in public and sometimes it can go through to your clothes and it'll be visible. But also, this is such a bulky, clunky thing to wear under your clothes. Like,
I don't think it's under the clothes.
No, she was right. But it's a towel. It's towel fabric.
I mean, I'm not going to go out in public wearing that. I mean, if you want to, cool, but I just wouldn't feel comfortable wearing that out in public. And if I wear a shirt or a top or a dress over it, it's so bulky that it would show.
And you're still going to sweat because it's a towel. It's
really thick. And it's going to make my boobs even sweat. Exactly, because it's going to keep them super hot.
I'm a boy, and I have male parts. And
say that. Where's the ball towel? Like, they're always trying to make women. I get tired of hearing about women having to address their hygiene constantly. I mean, I talk about this in my stand-up. It's so annoying. There's always women, Summer's Eve, nothing. Where's the ball towel? Like, why?
I'd buy one. I'd like two.
You're not gonna put a towel down there. It's too hot, and it's the same thing for
Do guys do anything about their testicles?
Here's the thing: is it's a swamp down there sometimes.
Right. I hear that. It
gets real soupy.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Because you've got hair down there, ostensibly. You haven't nared it off like I do. And it's not. It's the opposite of moisture wicking. It's moisture accumulating. And so there's Gold Bond medicated powder that when I'm just kind of all over the place, but you don't want to use talcum powder because talcum powder in women has been attributed to ovarian cancer. Feels weird putting it down there. And so if I've gone running and then I take a shower, and that's what I meant by the boob thing is afterwards, like I'll dry off real good, but my body heat's still up, and so I'm still gonna sweat. And so afterwards, I'm just like, oh God, if I had some kind of dedicated drying system around the gonads that would allow me not to have to, because then I take a towel and I'm shoving it on the side.
A banana hammock, but it's made of the towel material, like terry cloth.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Fascinating.
A banana robe.
Yeah. Look, I like innovative ideas, and just because this isn't for me doesn't mean it's not for someone else. So cool. Maybe some women love it. Maybe they're going to use it, and they'll be happy about it.
But one thing they said was that this was to address, not to kind of fall into the craze of social media.
Yeah,
it's like every other advertisement on Facebook is a different type of bra for women. It's this one that you do that.
I'm going to keep it real, and maybe this is inappropriate to admit, but I don't like bras. So
finally, someone said it.
Anytime that I can get away with not wearing one, I will not wear one.
Yeah. What about bralettes? That was a thing.
Bralettes are fine.
And that thing,
I would rather not wear any.
that thing doesn't work for those of us. Like, I nursed the kid, and I thought about it. I thought about it. I looked at it. I was like, how could that benefit me if I'm nursing? Because she talks about it, right?
Because it'll absorb the
milk.
Yeah.
You don't want it. When you're
That's what I need. I mean, I don't need, but I would need if I was lactating.
But can you imagine somebody walking out in public that's nursing, and then they just pop the towel off?
Yep.
Yeah.
And they were looking at you like in Graphic 18, someone just walking down Rodeo Drive, like if we throw up Graphic 18 again, just, hey.
Yeah, the crazies will go bananas.
It's me, Cynthia.
She's beautiful, by the way.
Gorge.
Yeah.
But I think if you take this one off, then the other one comes off because of the way that it's made, right? Go, girl.
No, I don't know.
In the words of Anna, do you, boo?
Do you, boos? Exactly.
You
so
do you, boo.
It's something you like. Exactly. Yeah. If it helps your tatas, I'm all for it.
And I'm all about women getting rich.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Girl.
Gosh.
All right, guys. Well, we don't have time for another story, but I do want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you to Ida Rodriguez and Brett Ehrlich for doing the show with me today. Ida, tell people where they can find you.
Tonight I'll be at the Long Beach Laugh Factory, and you can find me on my website, funnyaida.com, and all my shows are there. I'm going on an all-woman tour, so
get it.
We're going out on.
Where are you going? Where's the tour?
We're going to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. We're going to Modesto. And we're going to Maryland. It's called the Every Woman Tour, and it's with April Macy and Shantae Wayans. And it's all, we have a lesbian on the tour, we have a mom on the tour, and we have a liberal chick that does whatever the fuck she wants on the tour.
So make sure you guys check Ida out, and thank you again for watching. Everyone have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.